Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is I'm Not Gonna Hold You, Season 2, Episode 12, man. We're doing something a little different this week, going live. It's been a lot of shit going on, real busy. So weren't able to do it on the usual Thursday that we like to do it. So I like to appreciate everybody who is watching the live stream right now. So we got a lot to talk about, a lot of things going over. We'll talk about the NFL draft, talk about what's going on with these NBA playoffs. And I don't have it on the rundown, but I'm going to discuss a little bit of White Sox baseball too, because I've got some things to say about that, and I haven't been able to do my podcast. So we're just gonna get right into it, man. First off, let's start my sound off. Just came back 2 days ago from the NFL draft, which was held in Las Vegas. Shout out to everybody who donated to the 79th and Hallis Draft Fund to get us there. Me and my brother Flows had a good time down there. Did a lot of great content. And did about 3 podcasts, did a video, all 3 of those, man. Did a live show. So we appreciate everybody. But overall, man, my draft experience was cool. I had a great time. It was fun. It was just kind of cool to be in that atmosphere. It's the first time I've been to the draft, and it's a difference between covering like a sporting event, like a regular game or something like, compared to doing something like the draft, where it's multiple teams going on, and it's just really, you just saw the NFL on display for anybody who had any question about whether or not who's the king of sports. I think that question was answered this weekend. In the middle of the NBA playoffs, baseball season started. Everybody, we got to stop calling baseball America's pastime, because it's really the NFL. I mean, 100%. I've been to Vegas. It's my fourth time I've been to Las Vegas, and I've never seen it this crazy before. And I've been on the weekend doing a Mayweather fight. So this was like a whole nother level. It was cool to to just be in that atmosphere, to be in the control room, to hear all these different drafts happen, and the trades that happen, and kind of be the first ones up on the timeline to be able to report these picks. It was pretty cool. Ice Cube was there. Ice Cube had a nice little loud performance on day 2 of the draft. And it was just, it was one of those things where, like, it was definitely work. It definitely felt like work. Like, after a couple hours, like, once I guess the excitement of being at the draft kind of came down, it was like, okay, we got to focus. I got a job to do to get it done. But it was fun. I definitely would give it a A. I had a great time down there. Vegas is one of those places where you really can't be there longer than 2 days. If you do, then I don't know what the fuck you're doing. But on day 3, I was ready to go, but I had a pretty good time while I was there. So once again, shout out to everybody who sent money to the fund for us to be able to do that, man. But let's talk about the beloved, the Chicago Bears, which, of course, if you listen to me and my brother's podcast, 79th and Hallis, which is on the Barber's Chair Network, then that's what we talk about a lot. So the Bears came into this draft with no first round draft pick. Of course, we know last year they traded their first round draft pick to New York, the Giants, which would end up being Justin Fields. So the Bears did not have that, but they did have 3 third-round picks. And they did a lot of trading down. They ended up coming out of this with 11 players, which is the most in a Bears draft since 2008. So a lot of players. Ryan Poles got a lot of players in this draft. And I've been going back and forth about this. We're going to talk about, I'm not going to go over all 11 of the players. We're going to talk about the 3 guys who were drafted, 3 main guys. With the Bears' first pick, which is in round 2, was pick 39, was cornerback Kyler Gordon from Washington. The second pick in the second round also was safety Jaquan Brisker from Penn State. And then with their third pick, which was in the third round, ended up being Velus Jones Jr. From Tennessee. He's a wide receiver. He was a pick 71. This is the thing here, man. First of all, when it happened, I think everybody came into this draft as a Bears fan wanting offensive pieces for Justin Fields. I think that's the number one thing that everybody wanted, because we have a young quarterback in his second year who needs weapons pretty much. And this was the most stacked wide receiver draft I've seen in a minute. I mean, this is the first draft I've been where quarterback didn't get drafted until late first round. I can't ever remember that happening. So all the attention was on the wide receivers. And yes, the Bears got a wide receiver in Velus Jones, but this guy is going to be 25 in a couple days. He's not. I feel like they did reach a little bit with picking him. To me, he's a fourth or fifth round guy, and this is a guy that drafted in the third round. And this is something, when you have the George Pickens out there, you have the Alex Pierces out there, these are guys who I felt could come in and make an immediate impact to grow with Justin Fields and kind of add on to what Darnell Mooney does. And for you not to get them on something I was upset about. I'm not going to lie. When the second pick came in, which ended up, being Prisker, Jaquan Brisker. I messed his name up. Brisker. I was pissed off. I had to get up and walk from the draft room. Not gonna lie, I was pretty angry about that. It has nothing to do with Brisker, has nothing to do with Gordon. I think those two are going to be great players. I think those were the two best players available at the time. And obviously that's the strategy that Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus had, was to go best player according to their draft board. And even Ryan Poles said in his draft wrap-up press conference that they couldn't believe that Gordon and Brisker were still on the board when it came to drafting them. So of course they went that way. I do feel both players will make an immediate impact, and I do think when week one rolls around, Kyler Gordon will be on the other side with Jalen Johnson, and Brisker will be on the other side of Eddie Jackson. And that it was definitely a position of need for the Bears. That secondary last year was god awful, and so I didn't want to see Artie Burns anymore. I didn't want to see Duke Shelley anymore. I didn't want to see any more of those guys. So I understand that. I think that's going to be a great addition, but I just don't like how you're making things more difficult than it needs to be for Justin Fields. And this is all due respect to Darnell Mooney. I think Darnell Mooney is great. He's been great for the Bears in his 2 years he's been here. Got his first 1,000-yard receiving season last year. I just don't think he's a number one. I think on a championship team, like if he's on the Rams, I think he's probably a 3, a 2 at the absolute most on that team. So on championship teams, I don't think he's a number one. It's going to be different. How is he going to be when the majority of the defense's focus is on him? So, Velus Jones could be that. I mean, this is a guy who has the tremendous speed. He's going to be somebody who can fill in that Tariq Cohen role that we lost with Tariq Cohen, of course, when he got injured to the ACL and then eventually getting cut this offseason. He's somebody who can come in and fill that role. And I think we forget that Tariq Cohen was really, really good before he got hurt, and that's why he got that contract. So I'm cool with that signing. I just don't like it when there's others available. And, I've been mad about this for a couple of days. I think I finally got over it a little bit this morning to the point where, I'm still not happy about the process of it. Like I said, it's not about the players. I do think those two will be great, but I just didn't like the process. But today I think it's more about this is, to me, when you look at polls going best player available, this is a situation where, we could have went for offense, but also remember a couple years ago we drafted Cole Kmet when they probably should have drafted Antoine Winfield Jr., but they were going offense over best player available. So you have that type of situation. But I really feel like Ryan Poles is like, look, there's a lot of holes on this team. And he said in his press conference that this shit isn't going to be fixed overnight. We're going to do this the right way. And I think one thing that Bears fans need to understand, that this team is going to suck next year. And that wasn't an issue for me. I've never expected this team to have a good season next year. Shit, I told y'all at the beginning of last year that was going to be a 7-win team at the absolute most. So that wasn't an issue for me. The issue for me was just making Justin Fields' job tougher than it needs to be in a year where fuck wins, but Justin development is the most important thing here. And that's just something that I just didn't like. Now, I do think, maybe Poles is saying that, the offensive system that Matt Nagy had here was so fucking terrible that just switching it, you'll see leaps and bounds of improvement from last year, which could be the case. And maybe Ryan Poles is a genius and he knows way more football than my dumb ass do. That is probably a more likely outcome here. So he's going to be banking off the system Luke Getzey is the new offensive coordinator, the new quarterback coach, the new staff they've got, and try to run more, a little bit of a more faster offense. There's going to be a lot of speed here. Byron Pringle is he was a guy who was a third option on the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not going to sit up here and act like he can't produce. He can definitely produce things. Now, maybe you need to stop fucking popping willies in the fucking parking lot like a fucking dumbass with his child in the car. That just makes zero fucking sense to me. But maybe he can perform. I just don't know if the depth of this team is really going to be good. And you're going to be expecting a lot from Cole Kmet in his third season. He still hasn't looked like anything of substance. To me, I didn't like the pick when it happened. I still don't like it now. I don't really have much faith in Cole Kmet being the tight end that the Bears want him to be. So there's going to be pressure on him. You still have Dave Montgomery. He's one of the best running backs in the NFL. And you've got Khalil Herbert, who's going to be a nice 1-2 punch for him. So maybe there's going to be a different style offense where you see that going on. It's going to be something that can result in points. So really at this point, really just in the draft period, not just with the Bears, even for the teams who I think won the draft, you don't know. You don't never know. The draft is the ultimate fucking toss-up. You won't really know what these players will be to 2-3 years out the line. I mean, look, the greatest player of all fucking time got drafted in the 6th fucking round. I mean, you see guys, who are elite wide receivers, they got drafted in the 3rd round. You got some undrafted guys who are primetime players. So you really never know. So I'm just going to leave it up to Ryan Poles. I'm just going to trust in this process, and hopefully these things will help out Justin Fields. Now, I know there's some veteran wide receivers out there on the market right now. You got the Julio Jones and the Odell Beckhams, the Jarvis Landrys. I just don't see any reason why a veteran wide receiver will come to Chicago, a team that's probably going to win anywhere between 5 and 6 games over a contender. That just doesn't make any sense to me, so I'm not really expecting that. But like I said on the podcast last couple of days, I would give the Bears a C- for their draft. I really like the 2 secondary guys they got in Gordon and Brisker, but the wide receiver room is probably the worst in their division by far. So, but we just got to see. Maybe Poles has something that he knows what he's doing, man. So let's move on to the rest of the NFL draft. There was a lot of teams out here who, did their thing, man. I'm going to pretty much break down who I thought were the top 3 winners of this draft. And I'm going to go my number 1 winner. I got to give it to the Jets, man. Shout out to, all the Jets fans out there. They had a really, really good draft. And, if you go over the top 3 guys they were able to get Ahmad Sauce Gardner, cornerback for Cincinnati, number 4 overall pick. Something that they had a lot of problems with their secondary. And they was out here to go and get this guy and really solidify that backfield back there. So I really, really, really love that pick. And then, of course, their second pick they got happened in the 1st round, number 10 overall, Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. The Ohio State boys, they all got drafted 3 in a row. So that was pretty cool to see. So Garrett Wilson, you got another weapon out there for Zach Wilson next year. So that's a nice pickup right there. And, of course, their third one, which was a DN, Jermaine Johnson from Florida State. To me, they addressed all 3 big needs at their position. Not only were the best player available, but also feel the need for them. And I really, really like what they're doing over there. And if you're Zach Wilson, you really like that you've got a wide receiver that you can build with now, which is something that I wanted for Justin Fields. Now let's just be clear. I don't have any faith in Zach Wilson whatsoever. Even Justin Fields with his very mediocre wide receiver core, I trust him way more than I trust Zach Wilson. I feel like Zach Wilson was one of those quarterbacks that maybe got drafted way too high. Him and Trey Lance. I'm not a Trey Lance guy, but he has weapons now. It's going to be interesting to see how that's going to come across in his second year. So I'm going to give the Jets my number 1 winner of the draft. But the main tenant in MetLife, the New York Football Giants, they had just as great of a draft, man. I would give them an A as well with their top 3 picks that they were able to get. Number 1 going number 5 overall. They got Kayvon Thibodeau from Oregon, edge rusher. You can never have enough pass rushers in this league. That's the number 1 thing you can get. So to have that to add to a pass rush that was pretty much non-existent last year, I think has been pretty good. And then they were able to get Evan Neal, who's a right tackle from Alabama, a big guy up front who can go out there and he can help protect Daniel Jones. And by the way, a lot of pressure on Mr. Daniel Jones this year. The the Giants did not pick up his 5th-year option. They signed Tyrod Taylor. Now they said there will not be a competition. This is Daniel Jones' job going forward. They need to see what they got in him. I will say this, like I've been saying when he got drafted, do not trust quarterbacks from basketball schools. Trust me, if anybody knows how that goes, it's me and the rest of Chicago Bears fans. So I'm not really having any hope on that guy either. But they got a guy out there who can go out there and protect him out there on the front lines in Evan Neal. And of course, their third one, they were able to get another weapon for Daniel Jones. Wan'Dale Robinson from Kentucky, 5-foot guy. He had a lot of drops, but he has many drops as touchdowns. But, he had 104 catches for 1,334 yards in his last season with Kentucky. So that's going to be a weapon for them. So I really liked how they did too. It's like all these drafts that I liked, they hit different positions and they were able to get the wide receiver, which I'm going to keep hammering about. So I got to give that to them. The third winner I'm going to give, I hate giving this team love, obviously, because they're in my division, even though it's really not that much to give them niggas love about. But I got to give it to the Detroit Lions, man. They were able to get 2 edge rushers with the number 1 pick, which is pick number 2. They got Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan, which is a huge pickup for them. He probably should have went number 1. So I really love that addition for them. Later on in second round, they got Josh Pascal, another edge rusher from Kentucky, which is another one they can add right here. But the one that I love they got here was Jameson Williams from Alabama at pick 12. Now, of course, he's coming off the ACL tear. Now, I was in the interview room when he got drafted. He said he's ahead of schedule, and he plans to be ready for training camp in Detroit come August. So that's going to be a big thing for him if he can come back from that. We all know ACL tears are much easier to come back from than usual. We just saw what Cam Akers just did in this playoff run for the fucking Rams, and he wasn't out even 9 months. I think it was like 6 months tops, if that. Very, very quick recovery. So if he can come back, that'd be good. Now, we all know how Jared Goff is he's the worst quarterback in the division. So you got that, but I really love, the foundation that Detroit is building over there. If they can just find a way to get a quarterback, they can be able to be a threat later on down the line. Maybe that's something they get in next year's draft because Jared Goff is who he is at this point. It is what it is. And the Rams gave up all those picks to get him, but they're looking like fucking geniuses as they just won the Super Bowl and they're primed and ready to make another crack at it. But I really love the Jameson Williams signing for Detroit, draft for Detroit. Of course, getting Aiden Hutchinson. So they will be my third winner in the NFL draft. Man, there was a lot of trades this week. Philly had a big draft. Philly was able to get Jordan Davis. He's a massive human being, one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen in person. And the massive trade that they got, getting A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans. And it's funny because the Titans really just drafted a guy whose comp was A.J. Brown. When we all know that came down to money. As soon as he got traded, news broke in the draft room that he got a 4-year, $100 million extension. So he's going to be a guy, now you add that with Devontae Smith. This is a make or break year for Mr. Jalen Hurts. What you going to do, man? You got weapons now. Howie Roseman has invested in that offense. It's put up a shut-up time for them. They were able to get into the playoffs last season. They got their ass kicked by Tampa Bay. And they were able to get their feet wet and get a little bit of that postseason taste. So they got to take it to the next level, man. So that's pretty much my recap for the draft. It was pretty much exciting. And now we got to see what happens. You got rookie mini camp coming up this week. And of course, my brother Flows will be on the scene covering that this weekend. So you can get a firsthand talk to the new Bears wide receivers. I will be in town next week because they're going to be doing, more off-season workouts. So I will be at Hallis Hall over the next 2 weeks. So look out for that. So that's my wrap up with the NFL draft. Now I don't have this on my rundown. I actually just I'm gonna add this last minute, but I want to talk about my Chicago White Sox right now, man. I am not happy with what the White Sox are doing right now. We are only 22 games into the season. They are 9-13. They're getting ready to kick off the Crosstown Classic with the rival Chicago Cubs in about 2 hours here. By the way, I just want to say, of course, the MLB does a lot of dumbass things. Rob Manfred needs to change that baseball again. I mean, I've never seen so many balls that just got massacred die at the track before leaving the fucking ballpark as I have seen in this first month of the season, just all league wide, and that shit needs to stop. But the fact that you're having these inner city rivals, of course, you've got Cubs, White Sox, which I believe is the most uh hectic out of the three, inner city rivals. Of course, you got Yankees, Mets, and you've got the 405 series between the Dodgers and the Angels. This is the most brutal to me out of the three. For them to have only a 2-game set, really 4 games in total between the two in the month of May, during the midweek when it's cold outside, just doesn't make any fucking sense to me. But anyway, the White Sox are 9-13 right now. They're like 4th in the division. They're 4.5 back of the Minnesota Twins, who they're 14-9. Nobody in this division is like playing great. I mean, the Twins are playing 500 baseball right now. Their pitching has been way better than expected. I'm not expecting that to hold up at all. It's way early, so I don't want to like put too much dip on my chip here. That we've got 130 something games left in this season, so a lot of time left. But here's what I got to say about the Chicago White Sox in this poor start. Yes, I understand there's injuries. Yoan Moncada has yet to play a minute in this season. He's supposed to come back next week. Joe Kelly, one of the major relievers they signed in the offseason, he just had his rehab stunt. Hopefully he'll be back next week. Of course, the ace, Lance Lynn, he hasn't played a second in this season either. He'll be back later at the end of the month. Andrew Vaughn fucked his wrist up. He's been out of the lineup. Luis Robert is out of the lineup today. Now, I don't know if he's hurt or they're just giving him day off because it's been raining in Chicago and they don't want to tweak their hamstring. And of course, we know Eloy Jimenez is doing his yearly fucking injury, which could have fucking been avoided. Like, it's the only time, like last year, Eloy's always getting hurt doing dumb shit. Like last year, he got hurt trying to rob a home run in spring training. What the fuck are you doing? These are exhibition games. Let the ball fucking fly out of bounds. He lost 4 months of the season. And then this year, you're running hard to first base in April. Relax. And now he's going to be out probably till mid-June at the earliest. So I understand you got these injuries, but there's no reason for this offense to be this poor right now. And I think that's really what it comes down to. With all the injuries in the rotation, I was like, okay, the pitching's probably going to have a rough month and a half, 2 months to start the season. The offense is going to hold it down, has to hold it down. It's been the complete opposite. The pitching has been great. Lucas Giolito missed the start of 2 because of injury, but he's come back and he's been lights out. Dylan Cease. I've got to give a round of applause to Dylan Cease. I have been his number one criticized just because I've seen so much potential in him. He has by far the best stuff on the team. And it's like he just could not get it together since he's been called up into the majors in 2019. But, granted, it's early, but in these first 5 or 6 starts that he's had, he looks phenomenal. He shut down the Los Angeles Angels this past weekend, struck out Mike Trout 3 times. That shit doesn't happen. And he's getting into situations and getting out of them, which is something he never did in the past. They'll get runners on base and he would start walking dudes and start fucking up and getting out of control before his pinch count is high. He's got to get out the game early. He's been getting out of those situations. So I got to give it to him. So the pitching has been good. We can sit up here. We can talk about Vince Velasquez. We can talk about Dallas Keuchel. Yes, Dallas Keuchel should be, designated for assignment. He should not be on this team come June 1st, especially when Johnny Cueto is ready to pitch after he comes back from the minors. But with that being said, outside of that debacle in Cleveland a couple weeks ago, he's done what a fifth starter usually does. Gives up 4 to 5 runs, and in every game, the White Sox have had an opportunity to win. And Vince Velasquez has been pretty good so far. He pitched the fucking gym on Saturday against the Angels. But the problem here is the offense. And that comes with the non-patient at-bats that we've been seeing. The core got a hit. We can sit up here and argue about Tony La Russa's lineups all goddamn day, and they have not been good. I'm not going to sit up here and act like they have been. The lineup he put up today was some of the worst shit I've ever seen in my fucking life. I get the Cubs having a bullpen day, but Jesus Christ, this team needs wins in any way possible right now. Why are you putting that fucking lineup out there? But the guys got to produce. And outside of Tim Anderson, the core has not been producing. Luis Robert has to be better. Motherfucking Yasmani Grandal has to be better. I know Jose Abreu starts off bad every year, but good Lord, you got to pick it up a little more. So I need more patience at bats. Now I'm hoping that little fake comeback on Sunday where they came into the ninth inning down 6 against the Angels and they rallied and even had the winning run on base, and all because of patient at bats, letting pitches come, choosing which pitches to swing at. Hopefully that is turning the tide. And they were able to shut out the Angels last night and get a dub. They need to really go on a run. They need to go out here, sweep the Cubs, win that series in Boston, because they need to get out of this month at least within 5 games of division. Because not Cleveland, but Minnesota has an easy schedule, really the next month and a half. And the White Sox have the schedule from hell. I know it's early, but you don't want to dig yourself too much of a hole. So by the time the second half of the season rolls around, you got to fucking play damn near flawless baseball. And for everybody, I see White Sox fans and White Sox Twitter out there saying, oh, well, eventually they're going to come back and they're going to win the division. Y'all going to look stupid. If your expectation is just to fucking win the AL Central, I don't know what to fucking tell you. That should be something that's not a goal. Your goal is to win the World Series. This is the second year in the fucking window. Go out there and do it. And they need to change a lot to do that. Whether they come back and win this division or not, I need to see massive change. Now, I'm not going to jump off the bandwagon. I see a lot of people doing that. You know how White Sox Twitter is. There's one thing they like to do. They have to act like the ship is on fire whenever the fuck. I'm not ready to do that. It's a lot of games. This team isn't healthy. And this team is just way too talented to be playing the way they've been playing. The pitching is going to get better than it already is right now. And eventually, I believe the hitting will come up, will finally come around. But they got to be patient. They got to get more walks. Man. We need better from that. So, White Sox, get your fucking shit together, because I'm going to be at the Yankee series in about 2 weeks. I'm going to need y'all to get together, man. So that's all I got to say on the White Sox. Was a little impromptu rant because it was not on our rundown. But let's get into the NBA playoffs, man. Last night, Game 1 of Suns and Mav and Game 1 of Heat and Sixers kicked off. So we're going to get into a little bit of things about that. Now, last night, the Suns, pretty much ran away with it. The score is way more close than it really was. It was 121-114. Chris Paul had a great game, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, made a lot of clutch buckets. Of course, there's really a story here is DeAndre Ayton, who had 25 points, and Devin Booker, who came back. He had 23 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. And for the Dallas Mavericks, of course, Luka Doncic did what Luka Doncic does, is he had 45 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, almost a triple-double, shot 50% from the field. But the thing here that I watched in that first game is they got to play better defense. We can sit up here and talk about the offense. The offense really wasn't the problem, even though Jalen Brunson did not have a good game. Only 13 points, 6-16. But he was just missing some shit that he's going to make in Game 2. The defense has got to be better, and they've got to adjust differently. Playoffs are about adjustments. Playoffs are about matchups. And this one right here is something that if they don't play defense, they're going to get run off the fucking court. Every time they got a run, Phoenix answered with a run. Both teams shot pretty well from the three-point mark, but they just couldn't get any fucking stops. And there's got to be a way, and Luka's got to be better at this too. Sometimes Luka plays go to hell ball. Now, his go to hell ball looks better than a lot of other people's go to hell ball. And, and I don't think it's something that kind of like, affects them too much, but he's got to have a better job of getting Spencer Dinwiddie better shots, getting Jalen Brunson better shots, because they're not going to have a chance if those two don't get involved in this series. And I picked Phoenix in 7 on Ball Don't Lie. Hopefully it'll be out right now. We supposed to have it out a couple hours ago, but whatever. Hopefully it'll be out right now. I said Phoenix in 7 just because I felt like Luka was going to be a problem for them. And just the way that they played in that Utah series, they really spread the ball around. The others have really stepped up. So I had that. And there's also, I didn't really know, what Devin Booker's hamstring looked like. Now, granted, I'm not saying that it don't hurt, but he looked a lot better last night. He was really hitting a lot of shots. And they need to continue to make DeAndre Ayton the focal point. Sometimes I think Phoenix gets away from him the same way Utah likes to get away from Rudy Gobert. Nobody can stop this guy, especially nobody on the fucking Mavericks. The Mavericks like to run small, and they've got no option No answer for DeAndre Ayton. I would like to see him rebound the basketball a little bit more. There's no reason he should just have 8 rebounds, and he had like 1 at fucking halftime. So I need more from that. But the key feeding him, that's a huge mismatch. So I'm not going to sit up here and say, oh, it's over. This is going to be a 5-game series. It's one thing people like to do is overreact way too much to game one. Game one is always a fucking fill-out game. And the series doesn't really begin. The old adage, the series doesn't begin until a home team loses a game. So they still have another chance to go out there, get a W in game 2 and take the home court advantage back in Dallas. The game will be different than in Dallas. So they really need to play defense better, and they need Jalen Brunson to have a better game. It's really that simple, man. Heat and Sixers. I really don't have that much to say about the series. We all know Joel Embiid. He missed game 1. He's going to miss game 2. He has the right orbital injury. This is the second time he's injured it. He injured it a couple years ago. Ended up having to have to wear a mask. It was actually against the same Miami Heat team. But with Embiid or no Embiid, I think this is a 5-game series. Just because Harden has lost a lot of his motor since he messed his hamstring up in the playoffs last season. I know we like to make jokes about Harden being fraud in the playoffs, and that is true. I just don't think that's the case in this particular situation. He just hasn't looked like the same Harden all year, whether it's the regular season or now. And he doesn't have enough to carry this by himself. Even with Embiid needs help. And I don't think he's going to get that. Tyrone Maxey had a great series against Toronto. He's not going to be able to do that same shit against Miami. And Miami is just a defensively sound team. Even without Kyle Lowry, who missed game 1, he's going to miss game 2 again. They were able to get 25 points off the bench from Tyler Hero. Jimmy Butler did his thing. And if Jimmy Butler can continue to be the primary scorer, that's going to make this team just even more deadly. We all know Jimmy likes to facilitate first. He always said that. But I just think there's just too many weapons for Miami, and they just play too much lockdown defense. And you put in Philly is just, outside that little 1 week they had, the first week they had with Harden and Embiid, and everybody was, this is a great tandem when they were beating niggas like the Knicks and shit. They have not looked like what has been advertised since then. I think this might be the first time when both teams lost a trade. Like, Philly's going to have to pay James Harden. They're going to have to give him a ridiculous contract that he should not be getting at this age. And who knows when the fuck Ben Simmons is going to play for the fucking Brooklyn Nets. I don't see nobody winning this one. But there's not really much. I mean, maybe the Sixers could stretch this to 6 games, but I just think it's just too much to overcome. And of course, on top of all that, Miami has the home field advantage. Home court advantage. I picked the Sixers, Miami at 5, and I'm sticking with that. Nothing from game 1 changed that. If anything, it just strengthened my opinion. It was a boring ass game, very boring game. Hopefully, the rest of the series ain't that boring because I will tap out. But I think this is going to be a quick one. And the South Beach is going to be hosting the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, let's get into a series that game 2 is going to tip off in about an hour and a half here. Bucks and Celtics, man. I picked Bucks in 7 to start this series. And I went back and forth about this for a minute. I went back and forth about this because we've seen how well Boston played in that first round, how well they defended Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And I know that Chris Middleton is going to be out for the rest of the fucking series. And also, now Marcus Smart is out for the Celtics. He messed his quad up in game 1. He's going to be out for game 2 tonight. That is a massive loss for Boston, their season is essentially on the line. You don't want to go down 0-2 heading back to the Deer District in Milwaukee. You don't want that at all. But I think one thing that I saw in game 1 was that, number one, if you have any doubt, if you're one of those idiots out there who still question it, this is Giannis Antetokounmpo's league, period. Like, I know a lot of y'all, including Stephen A. and a lot of others, think this Kevin Durant. The one thing that I think separates the two, even before this past series, was defensively. That's one thing I think KD lost from the Achilles injury. The same thing Klay Thompson has lost to an extent is he can't, not to an extent, he was getting cooked. They can't guard anymore. And that's, to me, what levels out the scoring difference between Giannis and between KD. He's the best player in the league. And for all y'all, I see a lot of y'all, well, LeBron's still the best player. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's definitely not the best player in the league. Is LeBron, what LeBron is doing at his age is unheard of in the NBA. Like, the only thing in sports you can really compare it to is what Tom Brady is doing, except he's actually winning championships. But I digress. He's had a great individual season, but that team didn't even make the fucking play-in, bro. Like, you can't be the best player in the world if you can't even get your team into a play-in situation over the goddamn San Antonio Spurs. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? This is Giannis's league, and he's just getting better. And I said this all last season, all postseason. If the Bucks can win a championship and get that monkey off their back, God bless. And they finally did it. And it's like it just unlocked something for Giannis to where he's unfucking guardable. There's nothing you can do. And in this game, he did not play well in game one. He shot 9 for 25 from the fucking field. But it didn't matter because he got to the free throw line. He still was able to do that. And that used to be a weakness of him. Remember that people would do the little count early in the NBA finals? He's making those shits now. And he's not going to shoot that bad again. Went 9 for 25, and the boy still had a triple-double. And those same defensive tactics that the Boston Celtics use on Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, you can't use on Giannis. He's too fucking big. I seen a play in game when he came down, got a rebound, went right through and just ran through Al Horford like he was a fucking child. Al Horford is not a small man. He ran through him like he was me. And then he went up there at the podium and said, "Oh, I love when if I don't have scratches on me, I don't feel good about the game." Like, this is a guy who loves the contact. And this is a guy who's not scared of it. And that's, to me, is the difference between the two. And I understand that everybody is putting Jason Tatum in their top fives, and all that. That's all fine and dandy. But like I've been saying, we saw in the Bulls series, this is a superstar league. I think Jason Tatum will be a superstar. He's not a superstar yet. I think Jaylen Brown is going to be a really, really great 2 option. He's not a superstar, and that's the dividing line here. And this team defensively is probably the best defensive team in basketball. They are doing the same thing to the Celtics that they did to the Bulls. They're going to make you shoot jump shots. That lane is going to be closed. You're not getting anything. They've got a huge front line with Giannis, Brook Lopez, and of course Bobby Portis. And we saw in game one, it was so difficult for Jason Tatum and for Jaylen Brown to get their shots up. Now, I don't expect them to shoot this poor all series. I do think Jason Tatum will get his, and I think he will find a way to adjust. I just don't see a way how they can beat this team four times out of the next 6 games. I just don't fucking see it whatsoever. Just because defensively is going to be too much and the others are delivering. They're doing all this without Chris Middleton. And I got to give my hats off to Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday, to me, is one of the most underappreciated players in the NBA. A lot of people, including myself, at the beginning of last year, when the trade went down and he came here in that deal, I was like, Drew's cool, but I wouldn't think he's a legit 3rd option on a championship team. And man, he shut me the fuck up. He's been elite defensively. He's been putting up 20 again. He had 25 and 9 in game 1. He was killing the Bulls in the last series. And this is a guy who's just really stepping up. And it's the number 2 guy with Chris Middleton being out. He's been a perfect complement to Giannis. And you got to give it up to Bobby Portis has been big off the bench. I mean, we forgot Brook Lopez has been out all fucking year. They probably would have been a number 1 or number 2 seed if he didn't get hurt. He's playing good. He's hitting threes. And I don't like this motherfucker at all. And I know I'm not alone in this. Everybody hates this particular player. I don't fuck with Grayson Allen. But this motherfucker's hooping. This dude is out there just banging threes, giving them that energy they need off the bench. Of course, Pat Connaughton. Everybody is really, really showing out to show this is a complete team. And I think they're fed up with the disrespect. We haven't heard about the Bucks all season. All year it's been Lakers, Nets, Lakers, Nets, Lakers, Nets. And now all you're hearing about the Warriors. You know what I'm saying? And this is a team that has another gear. They still have an all-star on the bench that hopefully they can get back for the Eastern Conference Finals if they do advance. So I'm really interested to see how game 2 is going to go tonight because the season's on the line. There's no way around it. If they lose this game tonight and they go down 0-2 till Milwaukee, they're going to be on the other side of a sweep because this one ain't coming back if they lose this game tonight. They need to step up. They need to find a way to break that defense because if it's going to be just a jump shooting game, good luck. And the loss to Marcus Smart is going to be massive, man. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to go. I picked Bucks in 7, but this series might be a lot shorter than I originally thought, man. So let's go to our final series in this second round. The Golden State Warriors up 1 game on the Memphis Grizzlies. They won a very tight one on Sunday afternoon, 117-116, with Ja Morant missing a game-winning layup. I think I've been saying this all run. The Splash La Familia, man. The family is big. Jordan Poole. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that guy. This dude, I believe, is another superstar in the making. He's like the perfect complement to Steph and Klay Thompson. And this is a game. Now, I had I had Warriors in 5. Prior to the playoffs starting, I thought that this would be a 6-game series just based off how uh Memphis has played in the first round, and I just didn't know, injury wise, how the Warriors would look. But it's like they haven't missed a beat. They haven't missed a beat, and really, Memphis should not be playing right now. Let's just keep it a buck. If the Timberwolves had any ounce of basketball IQ, they would be the ones playing. Minnesota had a double-digit lead in every game outside of game 2, and they lost. They should have won that series in 5. So when I saw that, I was like, yes, Memphis is talented, but they stupid as hell. And you can't have low basketball IQ and make the number of mistakes that Memphis makes against the most experienced team in the playoffs, which is the Golden State Warriors. This is a team that has only lost 2 playoff series since Steve Kerr became coach in 2014, 2015. And by the way, let's give some love to Steve Kerr. I'm really tired of NBA Twitter and basketball fans treating this man, Steve Kerr, like he's fucking Steve Nash. This dude is a good coach. He might not be Spo, he might not be Pop or anything like that, but he's a really, really good coach. You don't have the success he's had, and the longevity that he's had without being a good coach. And I absolutely despise when people say, oh, he had all that talent. I got a take for you. I believe coaching a large amount of talent is more difficult than not. And all due respect to Greg Popovich, but the reason I don't think he's better than Phil Jackson, one, because the Spurs were never a dynasty, and y'all got to stop saying that shit. You're not a dynasty if you never repeat it. Where was the dominance in that? Like, every time y'all won, y'all got knocked off the hill the next year. So they're not a fucking dynasty. This guy, Phil Jackson, has the most championships of any coach. He three-peated not once, not twice, but 3 motherfucking times. Three-peat has not happened in 20 years, and let's keep it a buck. It's not ever happening again. With the with the roster overturn we have in today's game, really today's sports in general, I don't think that's ever going to happen. But think about the egos that he dealt with. Michael Jordan, massive ego. Scottie Pippen, massive ego. Dennis Rodman, massive ego. Horace Grant, even though he wasn't a superstar, we all know, massive ego. Look to the Lakers. Shaquille O'Neal, massive ego. RIP, Kobe Bean Bryant, massive ego. And also, Phil has an ego himself. So for him to be able to put all that together and win 11 championships is the reason I have him as the best. And so for Steve Kerr, who was a student of Phil Jackson, of course, a student of Greg Popovich, he knows how to manage talent. He's been able to keep this crew together. I mean, the big 3 of Draymond, Steph, and Clay have been together for 10 years. That is unheard of in today's NBA. And he's been a coach for 8. So just the system they have, you got to give the credit to Steve Kerr. And we really got to stop disrespecting this man when it comes to talking about who's the best coaches in the league and just the game plans he's been putting together. So they're the most experienced team in the league, and that type of shit that Memphis runs is not going to run on them. Now, Draymond, this is a game that Memphis had to win. Draymond Green got suspended in the second quarter, and I'm going to get to that as before we wrap this episode up. That was some bullshit. Stephen Clay did not shoot well. Not only did Stephen Clay not shoot well, this nigga Klay Thompson missed 2 free throws that probably would have iced the game. Something that you never see. Klay never misses free throws. And you go out there and you jack that. Let's be real. Ja Morant has not played well this playoffs, like at all. You can look at the box score. He had 34 points. Yeah, he shot like 34 fucking times. And that's just too fucking much. You can't do that. And shout out to his, Ja Morant's dad, T. Morant. I love seeing him courtside. If anybody hating on that, you just don't like fun. I mean, the dude's not doing anything. He's just watching his fucking son. I seen somebody get mad about how he was talking to Steph and Clay. Obviously, these players have respect for him and have some type of relationship to be coming up and talking to him after playoff games. Let T. Morant live. But when they asked T after the Wolves series how they felt his son played, he said he played like trash. And of course, we all know Ja said his father's his biggest hater. But he was telling the truth. Ja has not been the Ja that we saw in the regular season. Defense has had a part of it, but also I just think he has not been playing well. And I like Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane is not a number 2. He's not a number 2. Jaren Jackson had 33 points, hit like 8 3-pointers. That shit is never happening again in this series, like at all. You got to take that production off the play. And Dylan Brooks, I've never seen a dude whose shot looks off all the time. Like every time his shot goes in, I was like, oh, there's no shot that's going in. And he just shoots way too much. There was a sequence in the third quarter, I think it was, where the Grizzlies were up like 8. And they could have ran that to a 15, 17-point lead because Golden State was missing everything. They were missing free throws. They were missing layups. And these motherfuckers kept shooting threes. That's the type of shit you can't do. So now, Stephen Clay ain't finna shoot that bad the rest of the series. We're finna get generational Draymond tonight. I can't wait to see that. And Jordan Poole is the X factor. 31 points off the bench. This is his 6th playoff game. And he's playing this where the man has no fucking fear. And this just shows you how deep this team is. Years ago, the Warriors would have lost this game with the way that Stephen Clay shot and with Draymond get ejected. Jordan Poole was like, I got us. And this is just probably one of the deepest, this is probably the deepest Warriors team we've seen since the 2014, 2015 team. Because I got to give love to Andrew Wiggins. He has been balling. Defensively, he has been great. And Gary Payton II, amazing defense on Ja Morant. And even though Clay has lost a step defensively, that helped defense on that last play. Chef's kiss. Excellent. I think this is going to be a quick series. I think this is going to be a 5-game series. And I think the Warriors are going to try to get greedy tonight. If they win this series, this is going to be the same shit I said about Miami and Philly and even Boston and Milwaukee if Boston loses tonight. This series ain't coming back to Memphis, bro. It ain't. If the Warriors win this game tonight, they not leaving the Bay. I'm telling you right now, man. So this is something where the Grizzlies, I feel, can learn from it. But it's just, I even think Steph said himself, like, we just have a calm in clutch situations that we know we're going to pull it out. And that experience, you can't beat that experience, man. So I think it's going to be a quick one. And I'm going to say the Grizzlies win tonight, though. I do think the Grizzlies will find a way to win. And I think they're going to get pummeled in San Francisco, but I do think they'll win tonight. And I do think, I try to give every team, especially a team as good as Memphis, at least one game. And, sometimes the Warriors like to take their foot off the gas. So I think they'll get one game, but this one is going to be a quick one, man. And really, we're in a collision course. I need Suns Warriors like I need air to breathe. God, please bless us with this. As much as I love Luka, and yes, it would be funny to see him beat Chris Paul, I need this. I need that. Just basketball fans need that series, man. So we'll see how game 2 does tonight, man. Now, before we get to our Goofy Mog of the Week, I want to talk about playoff officiating. Now, you can argue that across sports, in the major 3 sports, that officiating this year has been pretty bad. We all know that I scream for robot umpires in baseball like every other fucking day. The NFL, to this day, don't know what the fuck a catch is and what the fuck a fumble is. But the NBA this year, and especially in this playoffs, has been egregious. Like, the fouls we saw in that Memphis Wolves series was god-awful. And this Draymond Green ejection was bullshit. Was it a flagrant? 100%. Was it a flagrant 2? Absolutely not. And they got to stop guarding off principle, off reputation. I mean, not principle, off reputation. They're doing this just because it's fucking Draymond. We saw last night, when literally this nigga Luka got kicked in the dick. Nobody got kicked out of the game. But when Draymond does it, he gets kicked out of the fucking game. Nobody's here to watch the goddamn officials. And the players and the coaches can't respond on it because if they say something about them, Adam Silver's going to come find them. I believe that these officials, not just the NBA, but in leagues, they should have to come up and speak to the media like the fucking players do. Answer yourself for these bullshit ass calls. We're not here to fucking see you. And then the fact that the NBA doubled down on it and said we're not rescinding Draymond's technical is bullshit because they're trying to guard the officials. They should be put on the same fucking level as the fucking players. And it's something that's just gotta fucking stop because it's taking the joy out of these games. These games have been as long as fucking baseball games. And that shit shouldn't fucking happen with the NBA, and especially not in the playoffs, man. But Devin Booker got teed up for talking shit. This is the postseason, bro. Emotions are running high. Everybody's trying to get that Larry O.B. and you flat. You giving a fucking tech for taunting? What was this fucking Little League? Like, that type of shit pisses me off as a viewer. Like, stop it. This is not the shit that we want to see. They need to start getting some accountability for these officials, man, because it's ruining the game. It's ruining the game. It's taking the fun out of I think, a pretty enjoyable postseason we've had so far. So that's my 2 cents on that. We're going to wrap this episode up with my Goofy Mog of the Week. And I got to give it to a Chicago guy. I hate giving it to Chicago people. I really do. I'm going to do what the Stephen A does when he talks about LeBron. Doc Rivers is a great guy. Cool guy. Chicago guy. When I met him, cool ass dude. I've said this story a million fucking times. I met him in LAX. We were waiting for our flight a couple years ago. We sat down 30 minutes. We talked about Chicago Bears football like he knew me. I fuck with Doc Rivers as a person. With that being said, I think he's one of the most overrated coaches of all time. And the fact that he's on that top 15 coach list of all time is utter fucking bullshit. But why the fuck was Joel Embiid in that game in game 6 when you're up 29? With 4 minutes left, you got the game won. The game is over. The series is over. You know how fragile Joel can be. You leave him in there. Now he fucked up his eye, whatever the fuck, and in concussion protocol. And he's gonna miss the first 2 games of the series. And they think he'll be back for game 3 and 4, but they don't know because they don't know how he's gonna feel. He ain't even out of concussion protocol. That shit has to be stopped. Now, as a guy who saw the Derrick Rose injury, what was it? 11 years ago at this point, and today is also the 11th year anniversary of D Rose becoming the youngest MVP ever. Salute to Pooh. I get PTSD when I see good players out on the court too long when the game is already decided. And this might come back around and bite them in the fucking ass like I think it will. So, Doc, you got to be smarter. Not just for this, but in general, man. Be smarter. But that is all I have for y'all today on this special live edition of I'm Not Gonna Hold You. Hopefully next week we'll be back at our regular time. I'll be doing a little traveling next week, so we'll stay tuned for what exactly the day will be. But we will be back next week. You know where to follow me on Twitter at Barberchair Scott. You know where to follow HNB Media, HNB Media TV on Twitter, and HNB Media on Instagram. You can follow the Barbers Chair Network at Barbers Chair Net. Subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/Barbers Chair Network. There will be no Cinemas of Guys Moon Knight this week or Summer Sessions. I have a ridiculously busy schedule this week, but next week we'll be back. I promise you. We're going to break down the final 2 episodes of Moon Knight, and we'll talk about Doctor Strange, which comes out this week. So look forward to that. Enjoy these playoffs, man. We'll holler at y'all next week.